guys, Brandon Ruffalo here. Welcome back to the Walleye Files. Super happy to have you here. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. And we've got a great show for you this week. We've got the man, Isaac Lakich. He is a National Walleye Tour champion. He is a AIM National champion this last year and a previous Master Walleye Circuit Team of the Year winner. An absolute incredible stick. And I've always liked Isaac since I met him. He's a absolute angler, just a really good dude, and he provides a lot of insight on some issues, some other things, and has some great stories along the way too that you guys are going to listen to. So we appreciate the heck out of him for being on. Again, we can't do this, and we can't say thank you enough to our sponsors: Thunderhook Fly-Ins, Lake Effect Lures, Image 360, and Crown Trophy of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Striker Brands, Walleye Nation Creations, and Bellevue Spice Co. Without those amazing companies, we could not do this. 2026 the season is kicking up fast here. We're only a couple months away from practice for the first National Walleye Tour event. We're only about 10 to 12 weeks away. As I record this, it's cold outside, and I just went ice fishing for the first time this year up in Badenoch, and we sucked. Probably going to be a episode of Walleye Files Unhooked with that, with some little dinky walleyes that we caught in the land of giants. So stay tuned for that as well. But back to the task at hand here. We've got Isaac. He gives some great talks about some awesome things. We appreciate the heck out of him. And again, thanks guys for watching. Keep supporting the show. Keep clicking and liking, subscribing. Make sure you go over to YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Podbean, and all the other places you can get your podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the places. We are on all of them. So without further ado, guys, Isaac Lakich. This episode of the Walleye Files is presented by Image 360 Inc. and Crown Trophy of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. For over 30 years, Image 360 and Crown Trophy have been Oshkosh's go-to for signs, vehicle graphics, custom apparel, and awards. Proudly serving northeastern Wisconsin with quality that speaks volumes. Your brand deserves to stand out. Let's make it unforgettable. Need signs that pop, graphics that roar, and branded apparel that turns heads? Image 360 and Crown Trophy in Oshkosh have been rocking northeastern Wisconsin for 30 years. From bold branding to epic awards, we bring your vision to life. Let's go. Love Image 360 and Crown Trophy. We've got Isaac Lakich, one of the most accomplished anglers on the National Walleye Tour right now. Buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brandon. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you. You know, we've been talking about this for a few weeks. I'm happy to have gotten you on here. And man, you had a hell of a year last year.
Yeah, it was a good one. Kind of had a rough spring, honestly, last season. I kind of have this bad habit of getting off to a slow start every year, but then kind of, it seems like, come May, June-ish every season, I kind of get my feet under me. And this year, we just had a couple, awesome days come together through, end of May through the summer that ended up with, some awesome, wins, some great high finishes, some crazy experiences, some, life and death situations. It was crazy. Like, it was just a wild summer. It feels good to kind of, this past fall and winter kind of have some downtime and kind of be able to reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's really special getting to see you. You post a lot on social media with your girls. That's got to be really special just to get some downtime, some time with them. Yeah. I mean, you're gone a lot. You spend a lot of time on the water. You spend a lot of time out west in Montana. So to get a winter where you have a little bit of time to just reset, hang with your girls, and just enjoy the family time must be really special.
Yeah. Just getting to breathe for a minute. I get to sleep in every now and then here during the winter, which is, not a thing from March through the end of November every year. It's, every day is 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So, getting those little breaks this time of year, it's important for, just the mental side of it, keeping your head in the game and just being able to, kind of recoup, lost sleep and, fix stuff that's gotten broken and all of the things that, the behind the scenes work that happens, before every season of fishing is vastly underrated for what goes into like what everyone that's on tour or anyone that's fishing on a full-time level. Everyone thinks that off season is just this time frame of not a lot going on, but it's still busy. There's always things to be done. It's show season right now, so that, we got some obligations with that and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been awesome, getting to go out fishing with the kids a couple times. Keeping them occupied on the ice can be a little bit of a chore some days, but we do our best and we just go have fun. So it's nice to take a change of pace from the stresses of doing fishing as a living to being able to actually go fishing and just try to enjoy the day.
Absolutely. Let's jump into your win last year on the National Walleye Tour, because I feel like that's something, I fished against you for a long time. You've taken my lunch money a lot. But I feel like that's something that kind of completes the circle for you, because you've won AIMS, you've won Master Walleye Circuit events, you've won Master Walleye Circuit Team of the Years before.
Yep.
But that NWT win, you've taken second before, third before. You've had some really close finishes, but I feel like it just kind of completed the circle of the justification of you as an angler.
Yeah, it was. I kind of showed up to that event with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. The last time we were on Lake Huron out at Sault Ste. Marie, there was kind of a lot of tail end drama that followed that event going down the road. Just, some mistakes that I made, some, mental mistakes that kind of put me in the situation that I was in. So I showed up there with a lot of, kind of chippiness and a little bit of an attitude, like I've got a bone to pick with this place. I got something to prove a little bit. So, I put a ton of time in pre-fishing there, probably more than I think I've ever put in for an event in my life, where, it was just every day was super early. I was trying to be on the water by 6:30, and I wasn't getting off until 7, 8, 9 o'clock some nights, where it's just I'm not going to leave any stone unturned. I feel, exceedingly confident in the Great Lakes. That's what I've grown up for the last, 10 years of my tournament career. The first 5 was primarily spent on, Green Bay and Winnebago. So I've got a lot of confidence in big water. I've been to Huron a couple different times, and it felt really good to finally kind of close that door on my career path of just being okay, I got that win. I've been close so many times. The first NWT I ever fished was in Oconto in 2020, and I took second to Corey Springle, which was that's the start of your professional career, and you take second to arguably one of the best to ever do it, which, still sucks to lose, but if I'm going to lose, I don't have a problem losing to a guy like that ever. But it's kind of always lit a fire under my butt to get going and get after it. And, this year was kind of the full, like you said, the full circle, everything finally kind of, fell into place. I got those, got the win on the national. And that just, it's hard to describe the feeling, honestly. I don't know if it'll ever really sink in, maybe down the road. I'm so forward focused in my mindset of how I approach fishing, and, I won that one and I was already thinking about the next one. So, it was a cool year. It was a special one for sure.
Yeah. Going back to that 2020 event, that was also my first one. I took 4th in that one, and the same thing, the same thought, holy crap. Looking at the standings, I think Kimos took 3rd, and it's
I think it was Dempsey who had 3rd.
Oh, you're right. You are 100% right. And it was
Dempsey, because I edged Dempsey out by an ounce or something. Yep. And then you were only a couple ounces behind him.
Yeah, and it was one of those tournaments where you looked up at the standings and you had just won an AIM. Your name was pretty established, and I was like, holy shit, I don't even know if I should be here. But it all worked out.
Right? I remember that one the back of my hand. I remember I edged all of you guys in the top 10 by the difference between me and 2nd and 10th place was 2 pounds or something.
Yeah.
We were all packed really tight, and then Corey beat me by 17 pounds. It was what the heck just happened? Which, whatever. That's part of it, right? Yeah, it's crazy that we both kind of, cut our teeth on the pro side of it, um, roughly at, around the
Yeah,
same
in
time.
that tournament, that was the first
Yeah,
one where it was like, okay, this is real. I'm good enough to do this.
right,
Um,
right.
so yeah, it was a pretty special event, I think, for both of us for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as winning that event on Lake Huron, you talked about the previous stuff, the last time you were in the Sioux. You didn't let that define you. I think that's really special. I think that shows a lot about your character and who you are. Um,
Mhm.
and it doesn't. You didn't allow that to get on into your mental health. You didn't allow that to affect you on the water going forward. And I think that's a big deal. There's a lot of people, myself included, that will talk yourself out of something, that'll get down on yourself. And I think you showed winning that event, going after that event, even all the events between then and the Sioux event, that hey, if you stay positive, you work your ass off,
Yeah.
you can absolutely do anything.
Yeah, it's all like, so I talk about the mental side of fishing more than a lot of guys, and it's all a head game out there, right? Like, we're all playing those little mind games, especially you get to that rules meeting pre-tournament, and you can tell guys are all kind of feeling each other out, and there's a cat and mouse game to be had between everyone, and I feel like that's really one of my strong suits. I love going to the rules meeting and just kind of throwing maybe some truths out, but also maybe lying a little bit and kind of keeping it, a little on the edge, and messing with everyone, and trying to make it lighthearted too. Because the one of the things I've learned over the last 10 years of fishing is like the best days I have on the water are when I'm just going out and having fun and fishing as like relaxed and in a natural state as possible. So people who know me and who've been around me know that I'm always messing around, I'm joking, I'm having a good time. So I've really tried to carry that out of just my everyday love of fishing and into the tournament world. And I think that's a huge side of my success that, you can't really put like a defining pin in like, oh yeah, it's like this part of it or that part of it. It's just like the overall mindset of being able to just kind of keep yourself in it. You kind of never talk yourself out of it, right? Like you always just kind of keep your head in that game. Um, and that's kind of, when I went to Huron, I mean, yeah, a lot of guys could have been like, yeah, like the last time I was here, all this bad stuff happened, and you get your mind going, and it'll eat itself alive if you let it. And I kind of took the opposite, right? Like I took all of that negativity and that strain and the comments and the people who were accusing me of all sorts of different stuff, and I used it as motivation to just work harder and prove everyone wrong and be like, no, look, like because something happened in my past, that's fine, right? Like we all make mistakes. I mean, I'm closing in on 200 tournaments in my career. I've been on every side of the coin you can fall on in terms of the rules and violations, and this went wrong this way or this went this way, and I've had benefit of being in a position where someone above me got DQ'd and I got moved into a check because of it, and all the like everything that could have happened in a tournament situation, like I've been there and experienced it. So going into that Alpina event for me was just like I really want to show everyone that like I do this like as legit as I can. Yes, I make mistakes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'll admit to it every single time that if something's on me. And the 23 event in the Sioux was on me. It was an oversight. I missed a rule and ended up violating it. And there were some repercussions. We could get into the whole topic of whether or not they were strict enough or whatnot. Like I'm not one to sit there and be like, well, what could have happened or couldn't have. I just moved forward and moved on to this last year's event, and just took all of those emotions, kind of put them behind me, and just focused on the task at hand, which was trying to find winning fish. Um, and for that Alpina event, like it really just turned into who was willing. It seems like there specifically for whatever reason, it's just who's willing to go the farthest. I think some of that just has to do with how clear the water is. It's one of the for people that haven't been to Alpena or Huron in general, the water clarity up there is some of the craziest you'll ever see pretty much anywhere. I mean, there's spots where you're fishing in 30, 40, 50 feet of water and you can see bottom, which makes fish really spooky and tough to catch. So, you know, in preparation for that event, I kind of knew that already, having been there before. So for me, it was just like, all right, like I just got to get away from everyone. And it ended up being, you know, 100 miles away from takeoff, but not where you want to necessarily find them. But I mean, they were the right caliber fish. And there was enough of them where I felt confident in the 3 hour to 3.5, 4 hour window I was going to have to fish. I could maybe get my 5. So, you know, that comes into the gambling side of what we do a little bit. But yeah, it was an event for sure. I mean, just kind of looking back at it, it's kind of surreal how many pieces of that puzzle had to come together to make it happen, and you know, to get there, get home, all of it. Like it was pretty crazy.
I was gonna say the boat ride in itself is that's a pins and needles feeling going 100 miles one way.
Yeah,
and knowing you have full confidence in your equipment, but bad things always happen. Bad things always happen in tournament fishing.
Yeah, for people who don't like know, or people who are watching this that haven't been to that part of the world. I mean, if you look at a map, like Alpena is basically, if like this is like the hand of Michigan and this is like Saginaw Bay, Alpena's here, and then Lake Huron wraps the whole top of the lake, right? And I went like all the way across and up into like basically the upper peninsula of Michigan from the lower peninsula to fish. So, you know, it was 100-mile trip, and I don't even know, it was like 35 of it was across just like pure open water. Like, I mean, it was so just nerve-wracking. And on day one, you know, cutting across that big open stretch, like we hit this huge bank of fog where like you're running and you can't see anything, you can't hear anything. Like you're just flying through this fog bank for, I don't even know, it was probably 10 miles of fog where, I mean, I had to back off. Like I couldn't run full speed. I was getting nervous. I was like, man, all it's going to take is me to get unlucky and there's a tanker out here hauling something and I hit the side of it at 50, like I'm dead. Like you even if you don't die immediately, like that tanker ain't going to heal.
You're not getting back.
No, you're not coming home. So that was crazy. And then, you know, I was making 2 fuel stops a day. So I had to run about a third of the way to the spot, get fuel in the morning, run up, go catch fish, turn around, come back, get fuel again, and then come home. So, like, there's just so many parts and moving, like, it's a moving target with where everything was and how we had to make this run and all of it. Like, yeah, the fact that we made it back both days with like no issues was like, I mean, just a godsend. Like, just got lucky, got, you know, had a little bit of luck on our side with, you know, day 2 the weather was not favorable in the afternoon. So luckily on day 2, like I caught my fish early enough to make it back. You know what I mean? Like with time. Like I had to, like if I wouldn't have been able to leave when I did, like I wouldn't have made it. Like there's no way that, like, if I would have left when I did on day 1, on day 2, I wasn't making it in. There was no way. I made it halfway back, and you know, it was crazy. We were going, and like it's flat calm on the north side of Huron, of like what I would call like a north channel, right? So it's like flat calm, and we're just flying, and I'm kind of trying to conserve fuel because that was an issue. Like I couldn't even run totally wide open because of like the distances in between my fuel stops. So I'm like conserving fuel, and all of a sudden, like there weren't waves, but the boat just starts doing this, and just kind of like that surge was building as the boat's like just kind of slowly coming up and down. And I like slowed down to do a live well check and let the fish rest for a second. And I told my I was like, I'm telling you right now, it's not blowing here, but it's blowing somewhere because you don't see like this surge without it being howling somewhere else. And yeah, not 10 minutes after that, you know, here comes the wind bank, hits us in the face, and it goes from, you know, a really nice, flat, calm, easy run to 4 or 5 footers in 10 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to suck. So then it was, you know, an hour and a half of just pounding through 4 footers, which anyone who's done that knows it's just terrible. Like, it's not fun. That's the side of it that isn't enjoyable. I mean, you laugh about it now, looking back at it, like we'll all joke about it on the tail end of the tournament, but in the moment, everyone's just like, every time you hit that wave, you feel your boat breaking and stuff's just cracking and graphs are coming loose and rods are, coming out of freaking storage positions. And oh my God. Yeah. For those people that haven't experienced that, where you're on a clock trying to push it through big water, like, I mean, it's a one of a kind feeling. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. For those of you who've never experienced it, I would don't do it. It's just your body and your boat are worth more than what we do to ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Like my lower back over the last 5 years, I'm like, I started out at like 6'4", but I'm like 5'11" now.
Yeah, I have forced myself to work out and do things because I fished a few tournaments last year, and the Battle on the Bay was the worst one. It was like 6-footers, 30 miles.
That's always a bad one.
And it is, and I love this tournament, and I love the Walleye Club, and I got done with that tournament, and I looked at my buddy Kyle, and we're driving home, and I'm like, I better put some damn work in if I'm going to fish next year because they're all big water events.
Yeah, this upcoming season's, I mean, it's huge. It's Erie, Oahe, 2 Green Bays, and Sakakawea. I mean, that's the 4 biggest baddest bodies of water in the country. Realistically, I mean, it really is. I mean, those are the longest runs happen on those 4 events. It really doesn't get much bigger than this year in terms of just the water body size, which, is what it is. I mean, we could get into the argument of what we think the schedule should or shouldn't be. Unfortunately, us as anglers don't really get a say in that aspect of anything. So, just gonna try to make the best of it, I think. That's all you can do, right? Like, what else are we supposed to do?
Right.
Like, that's just part of the fishing. So,
yeah, you can complain about the schedule, you can be unhappy about it. Tell you one thing, wherever you go, you have a chance at giants, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That's going to be an absolute blast. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're fishing big fish the whole season, which is awesome. That's not always the case. I mean, we've gone to some bodies of water where it's a 2-pounder is a really nice fish, and if you have a 2-pounder in your live well, I think at any of those events, you're not going to be very happy just based on what the bodies of water can produce.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I don't, depending on what the bite's like, you never know. I mean, the June event on Green Bay will be an interesting one, to say the least. Well, technically, for that one, you might actually want a 2-pounder because
I think you're going to want 3 of them.
We're going to have the slots. So yeah. Okay, I lied. Yep.
Oh, and Oahe too. Actually, the more now that you think about it,
that's a slot fishery too. So,
all right, give me some 2-pounders.
Right. Like perfect 19 3/4 inch fat little footballs would be awesome.
Right. Yeah, it's I tell you, I'm excited though. I didn't fish last year. The things didn't line up. And the year before that, it was fun, but towards the end of the season, it got difficult, and I was on the bubble of making the championship, and that's probably why it was stressful. But this year, in my mind, there's a new mindset. They've talked about changing some things. I'm interested to see what they're going to change. Where do you see changes coming from for the National Walleye Tour and in the industry itself in general?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, every year there's something that changes. They try to make an amendment to, some rule to, their overall goal is not to screw us as anglers, I don't think. They're trying to make it so it's more black and white. Typically, sometimes they do some stuff that seems like kind of throws it for a loop and makes it a little bit more difficult, and controversial here and there sometimes. So I mean, I really hope, I hope there's some amendments to, some of the championship rules. Kind of what we dealt with at Green Bay this last year for the championship was, I don't think, what any of us really wanted. It was the way they were written, and the years prior to that, everyone wanted the rules followed the way they were written. So, NWT did that last year, upset a bunch of people. So now, hopefully they can make some amendments to, some of those issues and get those things ironed out, kind of thing. to say that I know exactly what they're changing, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything. I'm not one to really start the rumor mill either. I don't really know off the top of my head what's coming down the pipes by any means. I mean, we haven't gotten a rules sheet yet. Granted, we're still, a solid 3-ish months out from, well, really, honestly, 2.5, but 2.5, 3 months away from, takeoff day 1 of Erie. So I would think they're going to probably push that out here in the next 2 to 4 weeks, hopefully. Just get guys an opportunity to read through it. I mean, really look it over and make sure you know what you're looking at is the most important part once they do come out. Because, yeah, if stuff's changed, you can't, I'm honestly, example number 1, ignorance ain't a freaking excuse. Like, it just isn't. So that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything where I'm like, oh, they got to change this. I do hope they decide, like you said, the championship thing with the top 10. I think they need things to be followed correctly, but also able to interpret, like, hey, we've got a situation where all these guys have busted their butt to get here, and they've spent a lot of money to be here. They deserve the platform.
Yeah, and I think that was what, like, for me, like, with the championship last year, like I would have loved to see in every single boat be able to go out and fish on the final day. Like, if we're going to lose a day and we didn't have a blow day built in, which, again, another whole thing why that wasn't done, like, whatever the situation is, like, I mean, for everyone that's worked hard for the whole season, they deserve 2 days to go fishing at a championship. Like, one way or another, that needs to happen. If you lose a day of the tournament and you don't have a blow day built in, everyone should be fishing on the final day. That's just the way I look at it. It just turns into a regular 2-day event at that point. It gives everyone a chance. Gives that guy who's sitting in 11th through 15th, who, was right there, was right on the edge of, a top 10 and a plaque. They lost that one fish for the day. Now they feel like their whole competition's screwed. So, I think they're going to amend that. That's something that I don't think anyone's really against by any means.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Thunderhook Fly-Ins, the premium fly-in fishing destination in Ontario, Canada. Trophy walleyes, giant pike, and remote wilderness adventures await. Book your trip now at thunderhook.com.
I think it's just it's something that, they can make. The biggest thing with, like, anything in life, like small adjustments make big improvements more than, like, drastically overhauling everything, right? Like there's a ton of keyboard warriors that love to go online and say, like, this needs to change and you need to go to this format or change this or you need a complete overhaul. Like, honestly, like, the overall of it is pretty solid. It's been running itself for, I don't even know, whatever, 15, 20 years, like, for the most part. So, like, fixed a few little things that need to be fixed every year, because there's always obviously something that comes up. There's always something that's just unforeseen that people never see coming. Like, I'm, for example, Jake Kahi and I, both of us NWT guys, we fish, the Warrior Boats puts on an invitational event every season, and this past season, at the invitational, it's for Warrior owners only. Jake and I ended up tying for first place on a picture tournament where our 5 biggest fish were all exactly the same size, like, to a T. Like, we had, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a 31, a 30 and a half, a 30 and a quarter, a 29, and a 28, like all the way down the board. So we were perfectly tied. And Denny was like, yeah, I've never had to deal with this. So, like, you guys are truly tied. Like, you guys are both going to take first. Like, we don't have another way to figure this out. Like, that's just what it is. Like, so, that's something that I think any of us who've done catch photo release tournaments would say, yeah, well, that's never going to happen. You're never going to have 2 boats that have, you might have the same weight at the end of the day, but there's usually between 5 fish or 10 fish that 2 boats catch. You're not going to have 10 fish be exactly the same, from 5 versus 5. So, like, the tournament directors that run this stuff, I've gotten to know them for the last 10 years. I've known Denny, I've known Jeff for about the same amount of time. These guys are good guys. They put in a ton of work behind the scenes that most people just don't see. They have arguably one of the toughest jobs in the fishing industry. Honestly, it's the toughest job in the fishing industry. And I think a lot of people don't give them the benefit of, they're trying to make good decisions that are fair for everyone. And it's unfortunate that people seem to attack those guys more than I think they should. Like, those guys are they're trying to do a job. They're never gonna, there's always gonna be a decision that they make that leaves X amount of people irritated and pissed off. It's just like a referee in a freaking basketball or a football game. Like, they're the guy that everyone points the finger at when something goes wrong. It's never the person's fault. It's never, you know what I mean? It's always someone else's fault. And, it's unfortunate. But
yeah, there's not a lot of, I just feel like people just need to have a better attitude in general. And everybody looks for something to complain about, looks for something to bitch about. And if you just look at this as, damn it, we're fortunate to go do something we freaking love, and we're doing it on a professional level, like, this is special.
Right. Like, without those guys, we don't have a platform. You and I aren't here having this conversation. I don't have a social media page and sponsors and all the rest of it, right? Like, I don't get all those opportunities if the platforms aren't there for us to use to help us, achieve some of these goals and stuff that we all set for ourselves. So, I try to always take a very outside in look at things. I try to really take a step back and see it from, both sides of the situation. And like I said, I mean, I've been on the winning side of a weird, situation, that I've been on the losing side of it. I've seen both of them. So, like, it just happens. Like, if you take a lick, take your lick and then just move on. Like, we all are there for the same reason, because we love doing this. So, like, let's just go have fun fishing. And, the days that are your day, celebrate it, enjoy it, have fun with it. And the days that aren't your day, honestly, applaud the guy that beat you, because that's just what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be making a community that other people want to join. And I think what you've seen over the last 10 years is this just steady kind of regression of tournament fishing, of, like, people just aren't getting involved with it. And I think a lot of it's because they just see when an issue arises, there's so much negativity and so many keyboard warriors chiming in. And it's like, oh my God, guys, like, chill out. Like, just reel it in a little bit. Let's realize this isn't, life or death here. Let's just do whatever. I mean, man, it's wild out there. The social media side of all this is crazy.
Yeah, and I just, like, if I'm somebody that's a non-endemic part of the sport, I don't even want to think about getting in bed with somebody, or or a tournament circuit, or just try to deal with sponsorships for a group of people that doesn't respect it. And
yeah,
and there are a lot of guys do. Most guys do. I'm not saying guys don't respect the sport, because a lot of them do. A lot of them,
the guys who are involved in it do. Like, all of us that are, like, fish, like, I get along with you. You're my competitor, and I'm
absolutely
here trying to help you. And I'll come on the show anytime you want me to come on the show, because it does good things for me. It does good things for you, right? Like, we're trying to lift each other up by helping each other. And I do that with all the guys on tour. Like, I tell everyone all the time, like, you guys need something when you're at an event and you can't find it, like, call me. I bring extra of everything to every event. Like, if you can't find it and your guys' group that's traveling together doesn't have it, give us a call. Like, shoot us a text. Like, I like, that's, like, again, like, it's supposed to be a community. We're supposed to be working together to better it. And if we all did that, and if everyone got on that same page, like, the sky's the limit, right? Like, there's no shortage of good people in the world. And I think that, like, news and social media, they only highlight the bad, right? Like, so it's like, I would love to see for the next year, like, everyone who's on social media, like, just do your best to not make a negative comment on something. only leave positive comments. If you don't agree with something, just move on. Like, who cares? Like, just, but yeah, that's asking a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it probably won't happen, but you know what?
Right.
We can start with it here. So
Right, exactly. I mean, it won't happen if the conversation's not open. So, like, yeah, just I don't know, just for everyone like watching, like, just try. I would challenge everyone watching this to go a year without posting something negative on social media. I'll try to do the same. It probably won't happen. I'm gonna post something that I shouldn't at some point. Like, I'm gonna be a hypocrite. You can call me it in a year. If someone can comment on next year's podcast when we do it and be like, "You hypocrite," and I'd be like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, because but
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Well, we're not all perfect, so
No, none of us.
So moving on, tell me about a boat accident. I heard about a boat accident. It put some things in perspective in life a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It was eye-opening to say the least. So to make a long story, because it's a decent one. It's kind of abbreviated. Basically, what happened is I was running on Lake Erie in practice prior to the Lake Erie NWT. It was, I think, Sunday before, so a couple days out from the tournament, and I was moving from an area to another area. I was with a couple other guys that were kind of running with us. We were all kind of moving to just go. Actually, I think we were heading to the launch. Now that I think about it, yeah, we were heading in. We kind of all met up. We were heading into the launch, and we're just driving the boats, and we were all kind of just not racing, but just kind of keeping pace and right next to each other. Right, it was me, Cody Pixley, and Max, and three of us are all running, and it was just a freak thing. I had basically a steering system failure in my 2090 where my hydraulic steering system got shut off. When that happens, my tiller boat, I'm now fully in manual control of the tiller, and a 250 horsepower motor when you're cruising across waves at 45-ish 50 miles. I don't even know exactly what speed we were going, but like 45 50 miles an hour, you can't, at least a guy my size, sure, again, if I was still 6'4" and super buff, I could maybe hang on to it, but like this motor just got ripped out of my hand and goes, like, the handle goes to the left, so it turned the boat to the right. Now, it's pretty wild. When it happened, the boat actually stayed straight for like probably a second or two. So like this motor gets ripped out of my hand, the boat stays straight, and my instinct was to dive for the handle and the throttle, because the way it pulls out of my hand, it turns the throttle up in the process. So I'm turning out of my seat to the left to go for the throttle, and basically the next thing I know is I'm in the air. So the boat like caught and hooked and turned to the right. Well, when it went crazy hard right, and I was going like that way, just the way that like the waves were kind of, because it was not like super rough. I mean, it was like maybe 1 to 2s. So we were on top of the waves when we were running. But when it hooked, it must have just like dropped into between two waves, and the boat, like, as it turned sideways, I think hit that wave and stopped, and my forward momentum just kind of took me obviously in the direction that I was still going, but it actually sent me like out the back left hand corner of the boat with my tiller, because I'm in the back. So I remember being in the air and I was like, holy shit, I'm flying. Like, and that was crazy in itself, like having cognitive thought when you're in the air, like after you were like driving a vehicle, was pretty wild. Hit the water. Of course, like, I don't have my life jacket on, so I immediately started swimming. I'm really lucky I didn't get knocked out, either coming out of the boat or hitting the water. Like I stayed conscious the whole time, which, was a saving grace in and of itself. That's miracle number one. And I pop up and I'm expecting the boat to just be sitting there because when I run, I put my kill switch on every time. I mean, it's just a force of habit that I've gotten into over the last years of fishing, especially, fishing big water. And typically in practice periods, I'm always alone. So it's just a good habit to get into. Everyone that's running a boat at any point in time should be wearing it. So I had it on. The problem, or the best that I can assume, is I literally usually just wrap it around my wrist because it's on the tiller handle. And when I went out like that back left corner and the way the boat was turning, the best thing I could figure is, so my handle's kind of like this, and then let's pretend my thumb is my shifter knob, and then my kill switch, like where it pulls out, is on the right hand side of the tiller handle, and then I'm on the right hand side. So I went like over and across the handle, and the best I could figure out was that my kill switch wrapped around that shifter knob when I went out that other side. And also I think like the momentum of my body leaving the boat kind of threw my arms backwards, so it just pulled the kill switch off of my hand. So I went flying, I hit the water, pop up, and I turn around expecting the boat to just be sitting there because I, had my kill cord on, and it's just spinning in a circle at 3/4 throttle, whatever. I don't even know what it was at that point. So the boat's just spinning. I pop up. It's very clearly getting closer to me. I'm looking at my boat in like disbelief, and second God said, luckily Cody saw me flying through the air, just happened to look over, whatever the scenario would be. But he's now yelling. I can hear him. He's like, you good, like he's screaming. And I turn and look, and he's coming fast, and he's like, boat's coming. And I'm like, yeah, I see it. Like, and he just reached his hand off the side of the boat and put his hand out, and I just threw my hand up, and he got me while he was still like coming by pretty fast. Like I mean, he's still moving at 5 miles an hour, 6 miles. He came like off plane and like right up to me, and grabbed me, and he like just yanks and pulls and gets me like kind of like up over the gunnel, and I just grabbed, like he had like a handle on the back like box or something. I don't even know what I grabbed. I grabbed something. He's like, you good? I was like, just go, because my boat again is now coming at Cody's boat. So he drags me with my feet still in the water, just out of the way of everything, and just gets us away from my boat. So he stops, and I fall back into the water, and I floated there for like a minute or two, like on the side of his boat. Like I just kind of went to the back, grabbed the swim ladder. I was like, I think I'm just gonna sit here for a second and let myself calm down, make sure like everything okay, I'm moving, everything's good. Like I can feel I took a monster shot like across my back, like just my whole back is just like that. I don't even know how to explain it, like that kind of weird whitish like cold pain almost, like where you can just tell like everything's tingly. And so I climb into his boat, and now it's an ordeal of like, how do we stop this out of control boat, how, like, without destroying two boats. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, up to that point, I'm just thankful I'm alive, and not even really thinking about that issue yet. And Cody's kind of talking to me, and it's kind of in one ear and out the other. Kind of, I mean, my adrenaline is, I'm sure his adrenaline, both of us are through the roof in terms of just your heart rate's at 1,000,000 miles a minute, like everything. You're trying to process it all, but you're also dealing with the current issue of this boat that's out of control. So we're sitting there, and we're like, how do we do this? Like what do we do? And in hindsight, of course, hindsight's 2020. The smartest thing and least dangerous would have been to take a rope and throw it in front of the boat. let it get caught up in the prop, let the lower unit or whatever just shear itself out and kill the motor. But again, this is pre-fishing for an NWT. We're not trying to break anything more than's already been broken. So we started, kind of making these mock passes where we were like driving past and trying to time it. So like as my boat would like come around, could we like match up with the speed of it at the same time on the outside corner? And I was going to try to jump. Like that was the thought process. And we were doing these passes, and I don't even know how many of them we made, 5 or 6, where finally we kind of got the timing down where we're like, all right, like, let's get as close as we can, see what happens. Like, and Cody said, he's like, if you're not like 100% committed to that jump, you don't jump. I'm like, yeah, I know, dude. Like, because if I end up in the water again, like, here we go. You know what I mean? Now it's spinning still, all this craziness. Well, so we're here, my boat's spinning, we time it, and we come around, and we just get way too close. And my boat comes around, bounces off the side of Cody's boat, like, into the glass. You could hear everything crunch. It's like, oh my God. Like, I'm just, like, pissed. And all of a sudden, like, it bounces off, and my boat just sets down. And now it's dead in the water, right? So we're like, oh, fuck. So, sorry for the profanity. It's crazy.
It's all good.
I've told this story a ton of times, and every time it's still just as crazy to think about. So the boat sets down, and it's now like my boat's here and Cody boat's here. And Cody like comes up to the back, like left corner of the boat, and I went to jump like into the back of my boat. And when I went to jump, Cody's boat hit a wave and went down. So I lost all of my pushing power like on the jump. So I landed with my foot like basically on the back transom, and I'm like on the transom next to a motor that I can hear is still revved up. It's just not in gear. So instinctually I knew like there's no way I'm making it in, right? Like I'm not going to make it in. So I took and I pushed the motor like straight and jumped backwards away from the boat, like to get myself, 5 feet or distance behind it. When I did that, I knocked the boat into gear again. So the boat kicks back into gear and just takes off for a second time with no one in it. Like, luckily, when I did that, I pushed the motor straight enough where now it wasn't making this tight little 60, 80 foot circle. It's making this big, long circle. So I swim back to Cody's boat. I'm swearing and ticked off out of my mind. I was wearing a life jacket this time for all of you at home that are thinking that I'm crazy, which I am. But I get back to Cody's boat, get in. Now we're watching it do this bigger circle. I was like, all right, just get up on the outside of it now and we'll be able to, like we can pace it around this circle. Like the initial circle was so tight, like you couldn't follow it around that circle. So it was like, all right, like, so yeah, we got on the outside of my boat at 25 now, and I think it slowed down. It wasn't going as fast, so got on the outside of it at 25, 30 miles an hour, and I jumped from Cody's front deck into the middle of the boat, rolled to the back, pulled the kill cord, and then it was over. And then the emotions hit, and it was a very interesting, emotional boat ride. Or I got towed in. We had to tow it because my whole steering system was just shattered and destroyed. So yeah, it was a very emotional hour-ish long tow ride into the nearest launch, and just said a lot of prayers, a lot of thank yous. Kind of wild. You end up in the water twice in a day with a boat that's out of control. That doesn't really happen ever. I don't wish that on anyone. Like I said, the biggest thing I can recommend is everyone wear their kill switch anytime they're moving, because we weren't really being stupid. We weren't being reckless with running around. Like, we were just kind of driving our way back to the boat launch with a couple of the buddies, and just a freak thing just went down. It was it was eye-opening for sure. I've slowed down a little bit since then. I don't take my life jacket off in the boat anymore. I can tell you that. I'm pretty much locked into a life jacket all day because I got 2 little girls at home and I want to make a home to them at the end of the day. So
yeah, that's definitely the most important thing, dude.
yeah. It's I run hot. Anyone who knows me knows I push the limits. I push the realm of what's possible and stuff like that. And yeah, I got out with some pretty minimal consequences. I bruised my ribs and my back and my arm, but outside of that, like no broken bones, no, didn't even go to the hospital. Just really sore for 3-4 weeks after that. Still feeling it a little. I'm still tight, and that might just be us getting older. But it's yeah, it was an eye opener of an experience. I don't wish that one on anyone. So.
Yeah, I agree. For everybody that's listening out there, please wear your kill switch. That's about the best message. We'll have more messages today, I'm sure. We'll have more things that we're going to talk about, but that is the most important lesson from today's podcast.
Clip it on. Like, it's got to be clipped. Because like I said, like I did what I think 99% of us all do when we put our kill switch on. We take that little clip that's on the end of it, you make a loop out of it, you put it over your wrist, you cinch it down a little bit tighter, and that's it. Like, that's what all of us kind of always done. That's just, and I think, like I said, like in a normal situation, like if I go forward and I stay in the boat, right? Like if I'm going forward in the boat or I come out that direction, like you hit something or you launched yourself upwards or any direction other than going the direction I went, I think that kill switch gets pulled. But It was just the angle and how it happened. Like, I mean, it was just a freak thing.
Yeah, that might be the most freak thing you'll ever hear.
Yeah. And then the decision making on the tail end of it was terrible. Like I said, like the fact that we were trying to jump from moving boat to moving boat, that was just so stupid. Like, so dumb. Like, looking back at it, like it's just like, yeah, no. Like, if that ever happens or a boat's out of control again, like I will never try to jump into it or get close to it again. I mean, I don't even want to, like, my boat's going in to get the glass fixed because I spiderwebbed a bunch of fiberglass in the process, and Cody spiderwebbed a bunch of glass. Like, they're both going in to get fixed, and I don't even want to know. It's probably $20,000 mess up. Like screw that. The lower unit's not worth that. So yeah, in hindsight too, like we should have just taken a rope and thrown it across. Got close enough to throw like a cushion or something tied to the rope, get it out in front of the boat, let it hook that freaking cushion, snag it, wrap up 100 feet of freaking anchor line in the motor and let the motor break. I mean, it's just not that was just a terrible decision making process. But in the heat of a moment and thinking about a tournament, and you're not thinking like that. You're just not. So
yeah, we've all done some questionable at best things.
I'm sick of doing it. It's the problem. I'm pretty good at I'm pretty good at making bad decisions sometimes. So.
They're the easiest decisions to make. Especially at the time, especially when there's emotions and thoughts of, hey, I want to fish tournament tomorrow.
So much adrenaline. Like I've never had an adrenaline dump like that before. Like, I mean, I was like, Max realized we weren't coming to the launch and came back looking for us. So Max was actually the one that towed me in, and like I was just shaking in the boat when I was getting towed in. Like, I mean, all that adrenaline leaving your body, and I was just like, I couldn't talk. I was on the phone with my parents and my kids, and like just trying to wrap my head around it. And I'm calling, my tournament partners that I travel with throughout, and letting them know what happened. I'm calling the boat manufacturer, like so many things. Like, oh my god, like it was, not a great time.
I'm glad you made her out okay, dude. That's a hell of an experience.
We're here having a conversation. Hindsight's 2020. It's a story for the grandkids someday. I'm kind of, I think I'm done having these kind of stories. It's been, it's been interesting to say the least.
So what's next for you? What's next for you as far as, you have goals, you have other priorities in life. Obviously, you spend a lot of time on the water guiding. What is next for Isaac Lakich in the next year, 2 years, 5 years?
I mean, the big one, the big goal over the next couple of years, I would love an AOY on the National Walleye Tour in terms of the fishing industry. The other big one that, I've kind of just been steadily working towards is just, I'm trying to preach as much conservation as I possibly can to as many people as I can. I talk to a ton of DNR officers, biologists, any opportunity I get to kind of have a conversation with someone who knows more about me, more than me, about the state of the fisheries, and the health of the fisheries and that kind of stuff. I really enjoy engaging in those conversations and trying to, find ways to just better the future for, both my kids' sake and everyone's kids' sake. Just trying to make the fishing industry a better place for the youth of tomorrow, going down the road. So, I've kind of been, tossing some ideas around in my head of, maybe doing some, conservation-based tournament stuff, maybe. I've kind of been playing around with, trying to figure out a way to get, people involved with more of the conservation side of it, but make it a little competitive. I don't know how to do that yet. I haven't really dove into that too much, but that's kind of always been on the mind of, maybe we, you host a trash pickup in the morning and then everyone goes fishing in the afternoon or whatever it is, to just try to, make the outdoors a better place. That's I'd say my biggest goal, lifelong goal, is, to leave the fisheries and the fishing better than I found it. To try to, bring as much good and positive things to this industry as I can is really, I'd say, the biggest goal I have overall, is just being a good person, teaching people, the correct, catch and release tactics, like whatever. I mean, just any of the conservation side of things, is definitely something that I think I'm going to get more and more involved with here going down the road.
Yeah, that's a great goal to have. It's something that is needed on places like Green Bay, Lake Winnebago, really everywhere. I mean, there's a need for that everywhere, and I think that's the right mindset and the right things to be doing, dude. That's really awesome.
Yeah. I think, like, people want.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Lake Effect Lures, the tackle that turns every cast into a catch. Built for serious anglers, tested on real fish, and proven to get bites when nothing else will. Get yours at lakeeffectlures.com.
Point the finger at one thing. Like, for example, forward-facing sonar. You hear it all the time. Well, it's ruining fisheries. Honestly, guys, what's ruining fisheries more than anything else is just the fact that there's more of us fishing than there ever has been. Our population growth in terms of a country is bigger than it's ever been. It's only going to continue to grow. So if there's more people fishing and the same amount of fishing to be done, in terms of, like, there's not new lakes being formed, we don't have glaciers over the top of us making new puddles and stuff all over the place, like, we have to have legitimate real life conversations about the fact that if there's more people fishing, more fish are going to get taken out of the system one way or another, whether it's forward facing sonar or just guys going out on the weekend soaking bobbers. Like, more fish are coming out. If there's more fish coming out, the DNR's job is to be able to identify that and say, okay, well, we need to change the limits, right? Like, the way I put it is this. If a guy's going to go fishing on a Saturday and he wants to keep his limit of, let's say 3 walleyes or 5 walleyes or whatever it is, right? People who argue that forward-facing sonar shouldn't exist, that guy who's going to go and keep his limit of walleyes, if you have forward-facing sonar or if you don't, he's not going to change the fact that he's going home with a limit. He's going to take his 5 fish. The only thing forward-facing sonar might do, and again, might, because anyone who's used it knows that getting proficient and good at it isn't easy. The only thing it might do is shorten the amount of time frame that it takes for that guy to get those 5 walleyes. But the fact of the matter is he's not changing the number of fish he's taking home just because he's using one form of technology or the other. And arguably, mapping is more detrimental over the last 10 years to fisheries than forward-facing sonar, because you're not fishing that spot because you just found it on forward-facing sonar. Most guys are going to spots that they find on a map and then using sonar to fish that spot. It's the same thing that we were doing with side imaging and 2D and all the other stuff that we used to do for the 5-10 years prior to forward-facing. So, like, my thing is like, if the DNR is doing their job right, they should be the ones that are dictating whether or not these fisheries need protecting, whether or not we need to change the limits. And they need to be listening to both the biologists, and then a lot of what I think they need to do a better job of is listening to some of the guides and the everyday anglers and people who are spending a lot of time on the water. We're the ones that kind of see the issues, I think, a little bit sooner even than the biologist, right? Because the biologist goes out, they take all the data, they got to take the data back, put it in, their personal database and compare it to years past. And, every system goes through, ups and downs, right? Like there's years where fishing's crazy good someplace because, there's a ton of predatory fish, but there's not a lot of bait. So the fish are eating really well. Mille Lacs is a crazy good example of this right now. Mille Lacs has been one of the arguably best fisheries in Minnesota for 10-15 years. There's a ton of tampering that goes on with the fish limits, all sorts of stuff. That's its own issue in and of itself. But over the last 10 to 15 years, Mille Lacs has been unbelievably consistent for catching fish because there's been no bait around, right? So when you saw a fish or you found fish on Mille Lacs, like you could catch like almost every single one of them because they were so hungry and they're skinny and they're really ugly looking fish because they were eating all sorts of bugs and they had no like good natural minnow forage. Well, now over the last couple of years, we've seen this massive influx of baby tulibies and baby perch on Mille Lacs. And everyone's been hearing about the perch bite that's going on Mille Lacs lately. Has been just out of this world good through the ice. Well, now the walleye bite isn't very good because the walleyes are really well fed. So you've seen this, the catch numbers are super high for the walleye population for years because there was no bait. Well, now you've kind of seen like this influx of like the bait population has rose way crazy high. Bait everywhere you go in that system now. And now it's really it's just tougher, not impossible, but it's tougher to catch walleyes because they're just better fed. So, the biologists and everything, they have the best idea of what's going on with it. Now, whether or not they can push that through to legislation for the politicians to actually do their job, again, whole nother situation, whole nother story of, how do we get, how do we streamline the efforts accordingly for, again, not what people want, not what you or I as anglers want to have happen, but what's best for the fishery, what's best for the fish, what's best to keep this fishery at a healthy biomass where the fish are healthy, the bait populations are healthy, all that kind of stuff. And I don't have the answers for that. I'm not a biologist. I don't know that, nearly as in-depth as guys like Ali Shakur or, one of my good buddies, Brandon Wambach, does a bunch of fisheries biologist stuff and works for the Wisconsin DNR. And, a bunch of these guys that just have way more experience of looking at the actual factual data of everything versus me going out and being like, yeah, well, in 2020, I caught X amount of walleyes on Green Bay, and in 2024, I've caught X amount less. Well, the fishery's struggling, but yeah, in 2024, we had more alewives than I've ever seen in my life on Green Bay. Like, so the bait has came back on the Great Lakes, I think, more than it has over the last 15 years or 20 years. So, like, that's making the bite tougher. These fish just have more food available to them. And, when you got tons and tons of natural forage swimming past your face every day, like, when I throw a chunk of lead-colored freaking jig wrap, like, you're not going to get them to eat it. They're not stupid. And I think that's the other thing, too. Like, walleyes are old. Like, they're very old. Like a lot of the really big trophy potential fish are 20-year-old fish. Like that fish has seen a lot of lures. It's survived a long time and avoided people for a long time. So that, you know, it's, I don't know. There's a lot to be said about, you know, listening to the data and the facts and not, you know, the people screaming from the crowd because they want one thing or the other. You know, what we want as anglers and what the fish need is two totally different things too.
Yeah.
I think
that's a great explanation. I totally agree. Give me a live scope nugget. Give me something that people don't think of or don't know.
Ooh. I think the biggest mistake that I see with novice live scope anglers is people don't stand close enough to the transducer. I think that is a big reason that people find it difficult to like track their bait, find their bait, is because not just standing close enough to the transducer, but having their rod next to the transducer. Like, so when I fish live scope, wherever my transducer is, which 90% of the time, or 100% of the time out of my boat, it's on the trolling motor. The head of my trolling motor, shaft comes down, transducer is down here. My rod tip is right here. It's directly above the head of my trolling motor. That doesn't matter if I'm casting left or right or straight forward or sometimes even straight behind myself. I'm keeping my rod almost always locked directly over the top of my trolling motor because it brings your bait and your lure on a straight line back to the transducer. So you're not having to deal with two different angles, right? So for example, like if this is my cone, right, and I'm looking like this, and I'm fishing from over here, and I'm bringing my bait like this, now I have two different cone angles, right, or like two different angles that I'm working with. Like my lure's coming this way, but the transducer's angled like this. So now I have to constantly keep, like, to follow my bait, and I gotta constantly turn that trolling motor. Whereas if my trolling motor is like this, and my rod is also directly over the top of the trolling motor, it's gonna bring my bait right to the transducer every single time. So as long as I'm pointing it down my line, I'm gonna follow that bait to the boat every single time. Just way easier. It's a little tricky to kind of get used to, right? Like especially like jigging tactics or like trying to get used to like working a glide bait kind of more sideways than straight up is kind of funky. But I think it helps tremendously for guys being able to just track their bait way easier, way simpler.
That's some juice. I like that. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like that's probably the most base level fundamental, right? But like you can talk about the accuracy and casting and, you know, run this bait or that bait or whatever to, you know, help yourself learn it. But like, recognizing that what you're seeing on your screen is coming from the transducer, and if you want to see it on the on the screen more, you need to just make it easier to follow, right? Like that's just the way I look at it. It just eliminates, you know, that angle of like, you know, for example, like if you're fishing with the transducers right in front of you and you're casting from 3 feet to the right or left, like everyone looks at the cone angle and they're like, well, it's kind of wide. Well, no, these cone angles aren't that wide. They're 14, 18 degrees, whatever. 20 degrees. It's not this super big chunk of water. It's pretty straightforward. I always, you know, when I teach clients or seminars and everything, like stop thinking about it like a cone. Think about it like a laser beam, right? Like think about, you know, just a straight line, as straight of a line as you can draw off that transducer. That's what you want to hit. Because if you stay on that line with both when you're looking for your bait and you keep your bait on that line, like now you have some room for error versus when you're thinking about like a cone and you're like, well, yeah, it's just kind of hitting that right side of the cone angle. Well, you're not getting the best picture. It's just I think underrated and definitely under talked about for sure.
Who's the best live scoper on tour?
Don't put me on a spot like that. I don't know. I mean,
is he sitting in front of me? I think he might be. He might be sitting in front of me.
Some days, I think all of us have our days, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I was the best live scoper on potentially planet Earth on day 2 of the AIM National Championship this year. The only reason I say that is because, so when we talk about fish, right, in live scoping, every fish has a range of what I would call, I guess, like activation of like where they will react to a bait or how far they're willing to react to a bait. Great Lakes, Lake Huron, places with unbelievably clear water, that range of how far they're going to move to come get something really large, right? Clear water, they can see it from 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 feet away. They'll move that far to come get it. On that AIM championship, I have never fished dirtier water in my life. Typically, whenever I have entered water that is that dirty, I turn around and leave because it's so dirty that you're like, how are you going to catch anything in this? It's chocolate milk. Like, I mean, we're talking 2 to maybe 4 inches of visibility. So now your range of space that a fish can see is 2 to 4 inches. Well, on day 2 of that AIM championship, like, I was hitting the cast I needed to make at these marks almost every time. Whereas on day 1, it was taking us to hit, like, basically we had to hit like a softball sized area to get the fish to react. And on day 1, it was taking us sometimes upwards of 40 or 50 casts at an individual fish to get it to like just see the bait. Now, when they would see it, they'd eat it every time. Like, it was instantaneous, like 100% catch rate in terms of like when you got one to turn and move, it was basically they turned and grabbed it. They would grab it so fast because it was just, they couldn't inspect it. They couldn't do any of that. They had to just eat it right away. But on day we went from, I would say, an average of 30 casts of fish on day 1 to the first 15 fish I caught in under 2 casts of fish on day 2. So I was just so accurate, so like just like putting it exactly where I needed to be, putting it right on that perfect spot, and it was just boom, boom, boom. Like, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I haven't had a day like that. Like, Tristan looked at me at like, I don't even know, like 8:30. He's like, "Are you gonna let me catch one today?" I was like, "Absolutely not. This is fun." Like, I was just dialed in, like, just had it down. So like that day, like, I was the best guy I think in the world on that day. But then it just changes, right? Like there's days where, you know, I can't hit a cast to save my life, where I'm just like, oh my God, like, I'm just getting mad and annoyed with myself because I'm, you know, hanging on to my line a little too long, or I'm throwing a crawler off every time I try to pitch a crawler, or, you know, I'm tangling a jig wrap when I throw it, or whatever it is that I'm throwing. Like, it's, you know, some days I just can't make it happen. And then other days it's, you know, it's like you can't do anything wrong. So I don't know if you can I don't think you can put a tag on like who's the best of all of us. I mean, I think all of us have our days, and then all of us have our bad days. And, you know, typically whoever wins the tournament's who can string together, you know, 2 good days in a row. It's kind of what it comes down to. And then, you know, a little bit of luck on the side. You know, you don't lose anything. You don't, you don't miss a hook set or what, you know what I mean? There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah. So closing this out, buddy. Normally I ask for fishing advice. You just gave us a beautiful live scope tip. Give me some life advice. Give me something anybody could use. Just a little piece of advice to, you know, to improve someone's life.
Don't ever give up on your dreams. Don't ever stop working for it. You know, I'm a testimony for a 7-year-old kid that used to write every single paper in elementary school was about how I was going to fish for a living someday. And, you know, just don't ever give up on that. Don't think it's impossible. It's way more work than you'll ever think it's going to be. It's not easy. It's not going to come easily. You're going to have a ton of downfalls of trying to achieve any dream that you could ever want. Like, there's so few people that I think that's the lie that social media tells us, is that all these people are living their dream life because they've just gotten a few lucky breaks or something like that. And yeah, you need a break or two along the way. Don't get me wrong, like we all do. But just don't give up. Don't ever stop working. Don't slow down. Just, you got to believe in yourself over anything else in life. I mean, you just got to truly believe that whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you can achieve it, and at some point you will. Because, I could say, where I'm at in my career, like I wish I would have been here 6-7 years ago, but I wasn't. And I'm at the point I'm at now because I just didn't give up. I just kept working for it and worked through the adversity. And I was humping concrete and wheelbarrows 6 years ago, pushing a wheelbarrow around, working my butt off every single day, and then fishing as much as I could on the side. And it's it's not about the path you take, and it's not about the time frame it takes to get there. It's about just getting to that end goal at the end of the day. If it takes you 2 years or if it takes you 20, who cares? You've still accomplished it. They're personal goals. You don't have to compare yourself to other people. You know what I mean? Like, just keep working for it. Keep the chin up, even when the days are tough, because I'll tell you what, if I learned anything about life, there's probably a lot more tough days in life than there are good days. So, take the good when it comes and just keep the nose to the grindstone when it's not.
That's the best damn tip we've ever had on the show. We've had a lot of really good ones. So, Isaac, I appreciate you for being on, buddy.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And tune in.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, we're going to do it again. We got to. That was fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.